Hey everybody, it's Robin and welcome to the Robin's Nest. Today on my channel I have something super fun planned for you guys. We're going to be making a Godzilla vs Kong cake. Now me and my kids watched this in theaters not too long ago, and to say it was good is an understatement. It was jam-packed full of action and the fight scenes were epic. So epic in fact, we're going to try to recreate one on a cake today. This should be really fun, so let's get into it. So today's cake isn't going to be a very big cake, but I still wanted it to feel like a big cake. So we're going to be making a tiny two-tier using 3 6-inch layers, which we're going to trim down and level out, as well as this 4-inch cake, which we're also going to level out, but we're going to tort this one into 3 separate layers. And we're going to do that using our cake leveler. So we're just going to start by trimming these down. We're going to discard our cake tops, and then we can start to fill our layers. So for this next part, I mixed up a nice big batch of golden yellow American buttercream, and we're going to use this to stack and fill our layers as well as do our crumb coats. So I'm going to start with my 6-inch cake, and we're going to get that iced onto a 10-inch cake board, which as you guys can see, I've doubled up using a little bit of 2-sided tape. Then I'm going to switch over to my 4-inch cake, and I want you guys to stay tuned for that because these little buggers can be a little bit difficult to ice sometimes, and I have a super handy little tip that's going to make your guys' job so much easier. So we're just going to take a little bit of icing. We're going to put this on our cake board to attach our first layer. Now we're going to get our cake stacked and filled. Alrighty, now that we're done our 6-inch, we're going to get this off into the fridge to chill because we want it to firm up really well. So you're going to want to leave it in there for at least 30 minutes or 15 in the freezer if your patience is as short as mine. So we're going to get that in there and then we're going to switch over to our 4-inch. So for my tiny cake, I'm starting out with a 4-inch cake card, which is actually the same size as the cake itself, as well as a 6-inch cake card that we're going to use just to keep our turntable clean. And as you can see, I also have a non-stick mat underneath, and this should help keep our cake board from sliding around on the turntable. So we're just going to start by attaching our first cake card to the second one using a small dollop of icing. And then we're going to fill our layers just the same as usual, because filling the layers on a 4-inch really isn't that hard. You can still hold on to the sides of the cake. It's doing the crumb coat that's a little bit more tricky, so I'll give you guys a tip for that in just a second. Okay, so we finished filling our layers on our tiny cake, and as you can see, I've also trimmed a little bit off the sides too because I actually baked it as a double barrel cake and my pan was a little bit on the short side, so I had to build up the sides with some parchment paper, and I ended up with some lumps and bumps that I wanted to get rid of first. So I just trimmed those off, and now we can start our crumb coat. So I'm just going to take a little bit of icing and we're going to smooth this over the top very thinly. And it doesn't have to be perfect. Just a nice thin coat will do. And then we're going to do this. And this is just a shish kebab stick, and I'm driving this down through the center, and we're going to push this into the cake card. And now we have a handle to hold on to. And voila, didn't that turn out good? I think that tip is so slick. And if you guys think so too, don't forget to hit that thumbs up button and maybe even hit that subscribe button too. Alright, so we're going to get this off into the fridge along with our 6-inch. We're going to let those firm up really well. And when we come back, we're going to start working on some of our fondant decorations. Alright guys, so while we're waiting for our cakes to chill, the first decoration we're going to start working on is the Skyline of Hong Kong. And we're going to use this as the backdrop for our epic fight scene. Now, I do want to mention my reason for doing this one first is because I want to give it a little bit of time to dry, because if we cut this and put it directly onto the cake, our buildings are just going to flop over and it's going to be really hard to deal with. So we're going to get it cut out first, give it a little bit of time to firm up, and that should make it much easier to apply to our cake. So I'm going to get this done and then we'll move on to our main features, Kong and Godzilla. Alright guys, there's the silhouette of our city and I think it turned out really good. Now, I know it's not 100% accurate. The image that I used I think was a little bit older, so there's probably a couple of buildings missing, but I think that looks great and I think it's going to look even better on our cake. So we're going to set this off to the side to dry until we need it later on, and next we're going to start working on Kong and Godzilla. So Godzilla and Kong are fairly complex looking creatures, and I didn't want this cake to be too difficult. I wanted it to be fairly easy for you guys to recreate. So I went searching for some images online and I stumbled across these super cool GIFs, and I will link these down in the description box for you guys if you're interested in using them too. But what I did was I saved them and I did some screenshots of the parts of the image that I liked the best, and I used those images to trace up these stencils for our cake. So what we're going to do is roll out our fondant and roll it out nice and thin, and we're going to use our stencils to transfer our image into place. Then we're going to pull the paper away and we're going to use a nice fine-tipped watercolor paintbrush and some watered down gel food color to paint our image into place. So I finished my Godzilla and my Kong paintings and I'm really happy with how they turned out. Mind you, I couldn't find the paintbrush that I wanted to use, so my coverage was a little bit off on my Godzilla and he turned out a little bit darker than I would have liked, but he still looks really good and he's gonna look awesome on the cake. And I would love to know what you guys think about them. Are you guys Team Kong or Team Godzilla? Personally, I'm Team Kong all the way. He's wild and savage, but he's a little bit of a softie at heart, and I just love him. I think he's awesome. So now that we have these finished, we're gonna set these off to the side, and all we have left to do is finish icing our cakes. So we're gonna go grab them out of the fridge and grab our icing and get those covered up. So because the landscape of our cake is a city skyline, I also wanted to create sort of a glow of city lights in the sky. So we're going to be doing a night sky, which is going to be a nice dark blue at the very top of our cake, and it's going to gradually work its way down to give that sort of glow with our orange and our yellow. So we're going to start with our 4-inch first because I want to get this off into the freezer to set for a little bit, so that way it's nice and firm when it's time to stack our tiers. So we're going to take our orange bag first, and we're gonna pipe a small ribbon around the bottom of our cake. And then we're gonna switch over to our blue, and we're gonna fill in the rest of it. And now that we have our colors piped where we want them, we're gonna take a small bench scraper and we're just gonna smooth these out, blending our colors together a little bit and getting a nice smooth finish. All right, now that we finished our 4-inch, we're gonna switch over to our 6-inch and we're gonna start with our yellow at the bottom. We're gonna work our way up a little more than halfway maybe, and then we're gonna switch over to our orange bag and finish it up. So our cakes have been iced and chilled and they're now ready to stack. So the first thing we're gonna do is add a little bit of a support system. Now it's not a very large second tier, but it is still a little bit heavy. So we're just gonna add 3 wooden skewers. So I'm gonna stick this in and measure it off, and then we're gonna cut it, and I'm gonna add the other 2, and then we'll stack our cake, and I'll add all my decorations, and I'll show you guys what it looks like. And ta-da, here it is, guys. Didn't it turn out great? I absolutely love it. I think it looks so good. But if there was one thing I would change, I would probably come up a little bit more with my yellow buttercream and maybe come down a little bit more with my blue. So it's a little bit more of a darker sky, but I absolutely love the color scheme. The blue, orange, and yellow together looks so good. And I love my little paintings. Aren't they awesome? And I just think this cake looks so good. And I really hope you guys all like it too. And if you did, you know what to do. Leave me a big thumbs up and leave me lots of love in the comment section too. And if you haven't done so already and you enjoyed the video, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and ring the bell so you receive a notification every time I post a new video. Thanks for watching, guys. Bye.